I've got good news. You do not have to be a singer in order to sing for your own music or for other people's music. This day and age, there are so many things you can do to a bad vocal performance to make it sound good that a lot of people will have no idea that you're really not a good singer. In my last video that I posted on the Signals Music channel, I did some Tool-style vocals, and I got a lot of comments asking how did I make those vocals, and also complimenting me on how great of a singer I am. So this video is going to show you the real tracks that I made, and you will agree that I am not a good singer. I am just someone who does singing. There's a giant difference between those two. I've worked with real vocalists. This is their craft. This is what they practice. And they're able to hit pitches easily. They're able to give stuff energy. They're able to add nuance to a performance. I can't do those things. I can produce pitches somewhat well, and well enough where I can go in there and process them to where I like. So what I'm going to do is show you the cringy vocals I recorded for my Tool style song. You will agree that no one would want to listen to that in its unprocessed state. Then I'm going to show you what I did to make those digestible and palatable and sounding somewhat Tool-like. So let's get started. Here are the 3 different vocal tracks that I sang, and then a 4th track of backwards reverby effect stuff that we'll talk about. And if we listen to the entire thing in context, here's what it all sounds like with the music, with the lyrics. Here are the Tool-style vocals that I made. So that's what it sounds like in the mix. If we listen to it all on its own, let's just listen to this vocal stack in context, just isolated. Here's what they all sound like.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you. If you promise not to tell nobody else.
So you can hear it is heavily processed. There's a lot going on here for just one vocal line, and I have 4 different tracks. You might be able to hear there are 3 different distinct tracks here. If we go through them one by one, and remember they're already processed, I'll show you what they sound like unprocessed, and I'll show you how I got there. But here's one of them.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
Heavily distorted on this one. I've got, we'll go through the effects later. This one, and you'll notice it's right in the center of the mix. This one, however,
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
Is panned to one side of the speaker, on the left side or the right side, depending on if your speakers are switched. And then over here, we've got another one that's panned hard to the other side. And then if you put them all together, we have this.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
My goal was to make it interesting because my voice is not nuanced and energetic and interesting enough on its own for the listener to be engaged with this song. And I will prove it to you. So here's what we'll do. We'll turn off all these other tracks. We'll look at this top one that was centered with the overdrive on it and the equalization. And we will turn off the pitch correction. And now we can crank this up. I'm also going to turn off, I know there's some delay on this vocal part. So let's make sure this delay is turned off. Okay, so the effects are now off on my main vocal track. We are now going to hear what it sounds like when I initially sang this. This is me singing into the microphone, little bit of compression, no EQ. This is all we're getting. There might be some leftover reverb on there, but regardless, this is the authentic track. And imagine if I had just left it like this.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you. If you promise not to tell nobody else. I fell in love. I fell in love with someone.
So, in my opinion, the thing this is lacking the most is energy. It doesn't sound believable to me. It sounds like somebody trying to sing instead of somebody actually singing. There's also some serious performance notes here.
If you promise not to.
I mean, that's bad. That's just objectively bad. If you think this is good singing, I would legitimately question your judgment in the studio.
If you promise not to tell nobody else.
There's just a slew of issues right there. Listen to the way I say promise.
If you promise.
I mean, it goes up to the note and then it plods out and then it just quavers. So these are all things that a good singer is going to avoid probably the first time all the way through. You know, this is my 5th or 6th take just to get it halfway decent. So How do we fix it? How do we turn something like this into something legitimate? Well, the first step is, for this track specifically, I melodyned the daylights out of it. I made some extreme chops and took out a lot of the humanity. Listen to this performance now. You'll notice it's almost unrecognizable as human singing.
If you promise not to tell nobody else.
I mean, did you hear that? I mean, when the word promise, listen to that. I just, instead of working with that mistake, I just got rid of the mistake completely.
If you promise not to tell nobody else.
You'll notice the pitches are a lot more cleaned up. I didn't, go through everything, but you'll notice some of these are really heavily melodyned. Let's listen to this first one.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
And that's like Gladys from Portal 2 or Portal. I have just ironed out these notes so strictly in some spots that they've lost all humanity. So look at this first phrase here.
I have got a
This second I have. I can't sing like that. If I get rid of that, here's what it initially sounded like. Right? I completely missed that note. So by doing this, I get this almost robotic layer, okay? But I didn't want it to sound like a robot singing. I wanted it to sound like a human singing. So it was a careful balance between blending these robotic layers that have correct pitch with more humanistic layers that have an actual human element into that. So this robotic layer ended up getting some overdrive on it. Sorry, that's a little loud.
I have got a secret.
And then from there, I carved out a little bit of EQ space. It looks like I'm going from about 200 hertz to about 10K, basically just filtering off the extreme highs and the extreme lows. I didn't need, with this much distortion, I didn't need extra junk floating around in the mix.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
So that's one layer. Let's take a listen to the other layer. And if we turn off all the effects on this one by one, you'll notice once again that my vocal performance is really not that great. I think, pitch-wise it might be all right, performance-wise it might be all right. It's just the energy. Good singers sing loud and there's just real passion in there. This is me singing like trying to hit the notes right, and there's a lot. It's very hard to get the energy when you do that. So let's listen to it without Melodyne. And we will crank it up in the mix a little bit. We'll also put it in the center so that way we can hear it a little bit better, and then we'll pan it off later on. So now that one's in the center and this one's in the center.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
Yeah, you hear how bad my pitch is there? I'm very sharp on a lot of these notes.
I have got a secret.
And also the way I approach those notes. You'll see it on Melodyne that many of these notes I shoot way up to or shoot way down to. When I'm recording singers, this is one of those things I see with bad singers a lot. And it's a thing I really don't see often with very good singers when I end up putting pitch correction on their voice.
If you promise not to tell nobody else.
So what did we do with this one? This one ended up staying the most human-like out of all of it. So I added pitch correction and I didn't overdo it. Well, I went pretty heavy with it. Take a listen.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
So that's with pitch correction. You hear how nice and perfect that is? Here it is. I'll go back and forth. I'll let it loop, and then I'll turn it on and off every single time. So here it is on.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
Turn it off.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
Back on.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
And you can hear it gets very robotic here at the end.
Tell you.
All right, and that's here in Melodyne.
Tell you.
So basically what I've been doing here, just to clarify how I get that kind of robotic sound, is once you find one of these notes,
tell you.
What you can do is you can grab this pitch modulation tool. And when you grab one of these, it basically just irons out the note. Instead of the fluctuations with your note, it just kind of irons it out. You can actually just double click it and it automatically gets even worse. So if I just start double clicking these notes, it becomes straight robot territory.
Tell you.
Right? Way more, T-Pain style auto-tune there.
Tell you.
From there, we added it looks like an extreme EQ curve, but it's not that extreme relative to the other one, in my opinion.
Tell you, I have got a
leaving a lot of the low end in there, taking away a lot of the high end, then some compressors.
Tell you, if you.
Now this is the Wave Tunes auto or the Wave, yeah. I think it's Wave Tunes, the doubler. So I bought the Waves audio plug-in pack at Christmas, and it came with a bunch of stuff. This doubler thing just basically is like a fake double track thing. And if you listen to the difference,
Tell you
I'm going to turn it on.
if you promise not to tell nobody else.
So it almost gives it a chorus effect.
I have got
I'll turn it off.
a secret that I want to tell you.
So I like that. And then obviously blending it with the distorted layer from before, here's what we get.
I have got,
And it's obviously not mixed anymore.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
So that mix, you know, you hear those blending together. You can't really tell which one is happening, which one is heavily pitch corrected. It sounds like a human, but it sounds like something else is going on there.
If you promise not to tell nobody else.
Now, the third layer was just another layer of just completely destructed stuff. I don't need to play you the raw track anymore. You understand that it's not great, right? It's not performance level worthy. So here's what it sounds like on its own. And it looks like still have some effects on this guy. So let's turn them off right now.
I have got a secret that I want to tell you.
Now, what I did here is an extreme EQ curve. I mean, take a look at this. This is just shelved off at around 900, 800, and shelved off again at around 1100, or I'm sorry, 2000 right there. So, and what we're left with is this. If I turn this EQ on.
I have got a secret that I want.
And in case you didn't know, it took me a while to realize this, but instead of the shelf like this in Ableton, you can find this one that is just much steeper, and it's better at giving you those boxier, mid-range, almost like a bandpass filter kind of thing. Once again, compression, to even everything out, I like to use two compressors. One is kind of a little lighter and catches most of my performance, and then the other one is a little harsher and it catches more of the peaks.
I have got a secret.
And once again, one of the Waves doublers.
I have got a.
If you don't have the Wave doubler, you could probably get a similar effect with just a chorus. So, like, let's drag up a like a stock chorus here.
I have got a.
I mean, that's an almost identical sound right there, right?
I have got a.
So, you know, it doesn't. You don't have to use that plugin. It's not like it's not like the some amazing piece of software. It's very fun though. I like to just throw it on things, guitar parts, acoustic parts, vocal parts, and just see what it does because it's just an interesting timbre. So now I have 3 vocal parts.
I have got a secret.
And like I said, I did pan one hard to the right and hard to the left.
I have got a.
And then the last step here was just adding some basic, some reverb to the whole thing. I did have some delay on some parts. I believe the delay is automated, so it only delays in specific spots. Let's check it out.
That I want to tell you.
It's on for most of the time. And then I believe some of these had like some more reverb on them.
That I want to tell you. If you promise not to tell nobody else.
So that is the 3 main chunks of the vocal part. But we still didn't talk about my favorite thing about these vocal things, which are these backwards reverse reverby things.
I have got a.
So if we listen to those all on their own, those are awesome. These are one of my favorite things to make. They're very cliche. Over here. Haunting stuff, right? So to make these is very, very, very simple. It's just a slightly confusing process. It's only a few steps though. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to make a new track. And what I'd like to do is I need to have a source material to make these things. These are made from my original voice. And I'd like to accent this word. This word here is I, correct? So let's mute these other tracks. Let's get back to this guy. Let's turn off my effects. Let's turn off all my effects. I don't want any effects on here at all, except for my compressor. So I think we have a clean...
I have.
Oh, there's still some reverb on there. There we go. Okay, I've got a clean, first syllable. This is the syllable I'm trying to enhance with one of these big backwards reverby things, all right? So to enhance this syllable, to give it that prelude, what I need to do is I need to kind of just take the sample and chop it out, all right? So let's make a brand new track. I made this track down here, and I'm just going to take the sample and move it down here so I can start messing with it, all right? So we can think of this, let's just, so we don't get confused. This is sample. All right, here we've got Now that I've got this sample, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse it. And in Ableton, what you do is you hit Shift and Tab, and then you just hit this little button down here, REV. Now it's reversed. Yeah. So what we're going to do now that we have it reversed, we're going to make another track, and we can call this the resample track. All right, this is going to be our resample. Basically, what we're going to do is, well, let's go back to our sample track. All right, I'm going to hit Shift Tab again. All right, we're listening to this track. Yeah. And I need to add reverb to it. Now that it's reversed, I'm going to add reverb to it. We'll just grab the stock reverb, 100%. Yeah. We'll make it a little longer. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty cool. And if you want to tweak some of these knobs, you can. If you don't like all the high stuff in there, maybe cut off some of that. Yeah. Right? But I like all that high stuff in there. It sounds kind of whispery. Yeah. So what we're hearing now, that is the sound wave that we want to reverse. Everything you heard is what we want to reverse. And in order to do that, we're going to resample. So I'm going to go to this new track I made called Resample. And over here where it says external instrument, I'm going to change it from external instrument to resampling. And right here, instead of it saying off, I'm going to change this to in. So basically what's happening is whatever Ableton is playing is going to get pumped through this track. So I can arm this track for recording. I can hit record. And it just recorded that entire thing we heard. So now this track is done. We're done with it. It's served its purpose. We're deleting the sample track. We're keeping the resample track. I'm going to switch it back to auto, turn off the arm for recording, and listen to what I have. Oops, sorry. Just this. And if I put it in... Now, there's one more step. One more easy step. Take the whole thing that we've made, hit Shift Tab again, and reverse it. And now we are ready to slide this into our song. Let's listen to it all on its own. Right? We know that I'm singing the word I, and this gives it this, like, you know, temporal dimension shift of me singing it 5 seconds earlier, and the deja vu is hitting you while I'm saying it. Like, it's just a very, very cool auditory effect. And now we can kind of blend this in with our original vocals. And we can put it in wherever we want. We have a lot of freedom to put it in wherever we want. We can experiment with it coming in early, late. Right? Did you hear that? That kind of gives it a double, where it comes in once and then it comes in again. So that's a cool way to do it. We could also do it with... moving it a little bit later, so like the eyes kind of sync up so it doesn't sound like a double. That's a little tighter, right? We could even add some reverb to this, so that way that maybe kind of tails out even longer. Let's listen. Well, it's going to be kind of hard to hear with all that reverb on there. Let's maybe crank it up, and we might not even be able to hear it at all. So it's fun to play with, right? I've got this little sample that really adds interest to the very, very first syllable here of that word I. So obviously, if it works there, let's do it all over the place, right? I did it again here. If I add in the original track now, let's take a listen. If you promise not to tell nobody else. Here on the word I fell in love. I fell in love with someone. Right? So basically, that's what we've got is 4 vocal tracks to put it all together. And hopefully at this point you see that, you know, if you've got a decent vocal track, you can really make magic with it by spending enough time with it. Layers really help. Very, very rarely in a modern song with lots of instrumentation are you going to hear one vocal track. That's going to happen if it's just like, you know, a piano and a singer, or maybe in a guitar and a singer. But even then, there's usually stacks and stacks and stacks of vocals because it just fattens things up. It makes it more interesting. If you have the luxury of working with a good singer, I still recommend you go through all these steps. You're going to go just get a better result at the end of the day. But the real magic of things is that even if you don't have great vocal skills, then you can still get away with this. And that's not me being humble. I'm very confident in my songwriting skills. I think I'm a great songwriter. I don't think I'm a great singer. All right. There's experts for that kind of stuff. And you really kind of want to rely on the experts when you can. But however, obviously, this day and age, you can't just have singers come over to your house all the time and start spraying particles all over your microphones. So I highly recommend that you start doing this kind of thing. Even if you're not confident with your vocals, just start getting something in there and just trying to make it work somehow. And that will teach you your DAW. It'll teach you about arrangement. It'll teach you about what kind of songs can you actually sing, because there are certain genres that I think I can perform very well. For some reason, I think I can sing country really well, even though I don't really like the genre that much. So, you know, you start finding your strengths and your weaknesses. And if production is something you'd like to do as a living or a career or even as a hobby, there's no better practice than taking bad vocals and making them sound good. If you're a producer, a small-time producer, or even a big-time producer, this is extremely common. You have people that come in, they think they can sing, and they can't. And it is your job to rescue that song and make it sound okay. And you're going to have a lot of tricks up your sleeves, a lot of studio tricks up your sleeve. So hopefully this video gives you a little insight to where I'm thinking of those tricks, why I'm thinking of those tricks, and maybe some of the specifics of how I actually did it. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, ask me some questions down below, and I will try to make something like this again if you have any other further questions on my vocal production. Adios.